the story that's being told here is very important, and I hope all of you are sitting and listening to it. And not only are we raising money today, but we are trying to get that message across about the very special people here and about the Key Training Center. And I think, Jim, we've seen miracles here throughout the years and every day here.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Every year. Real miracles. No other way to describe it.
Yeah. Tell you what, though, Jim, you got to have the bells ring for one of your big contributions here. Well, the phones rang, and I got the big one here. So I want the...
You beat 3,000?
I beat 3,000. Oh. We would like to thank Henry Hyde in Inverness, who called in, and we have a donation of $5,000.
Wow. That's great.
That is just wonderful. We are seeing so many things like this and so many people that it doesn't matter about the hard economic times. They know that dollars put here are dollars that are going so much further in helping people. So it's really exciting. I'm going to let you read, or do you have some to read?
I have some more.
Okay,
yeah, we have so many names here. Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Paoli, Beverly Hills, $25. Mr. and Mrs. Keith Posta, Inverness, $200. Mr. and Mrs. Kenneth C. Grimes, Beverly Hills, $25. Mr. and Mrs. Kenneth J. Bartels, Beverly Hills, $50. Mr. and Mrs. Lawrence Jean Davis, Ocala, $100. Mr. and Mrs. Lawrence J. Healy, Jr., Homosassa, $50. Mr. and Mrs. Leo A. Gendron, Hernando, $25. Mr. and Mrs. Leo Kubiak, Lecanto, $50. Mr. and Mrs. Leonard Martin, Beverly Hills, $10. Mr. and Mrs. Leroy H. Hanson, Homosassa, $15. Mr. and Mrs. Lester Wolcan, Inverness, $10. Mr. and Mrs. Lyle W. Lee, Crystal River, $30. Mr. and Mrs. Marius G. Nelcha, Beverly Hills, $50. Mr. and Mrs. Marvin Goodwin, Hernando, $25. Mr. and Mrs. Michael LaPerche, Hernando, $30. Mr. and Mrs. Michael Woodhead, Homosassa, $25. And Mr. and Mrs. Milton D. Clark, Homosassa Springs, $30.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Had another phone in that I wanted to mention, Mr. and Mrs. Norman York, for $50, so thank you. Also want to remind you, I don't know whether you get the cameras on this or not, but we have, during this hour, so we only have like about 10 minutes left to put your bids in for this beautiful oil painting by Sharon Harris. So call in that same number, 527-2341, and let us know what your bid is for this painting. It is really beautiful. We have, what, 4 more hours? What do we have? 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 4 more hours. Okay, I have to, my medicine. We got a lot to do. We got to do in that.
Yeah, and I don't hear any ringing right now. We need to hear those phones ringing. We're pushing the clock here, guys. We need your help. 527-2341, 866-385-4919.
Okay.
So please, there we go. Thank you.
Okay, Jim, if you look on our screen now, what people are looking at is what was going on down at the Chet Cole Life Enrichment Center today, and it was so exciting there. You see the love of these people, and they know today is a special day for them, and they are going around and they're saying, "Run for the money." They know how crucial it is, and besides, they're just having fun. They were coming up. It was really, they're wonderful.
The joy in those eyes.
Yes.
Priceless.
Right, and some of these are friends. Look at them. It's just good to see them and the smiles on them. Of course, we had our clowns, and if you'll notice too, what was fun was just for about every key client, you've got a volunteer, you've got a staff person, you've got so many hands going together to make this a possibility. Look at that.
A community coming together.
Yeah.
And for a darn good reason.
Right. We also had the Gold Fever Band that was playing out there and doing a wonderful job. And of course, you see them all dance, and they love to do that.
And they're going to be going until 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
You still got time to come down and join in the festivities if you'd like.
Absolutely, and if not, just certainly get on the phone and make those phone rings and do those donations. 527-2341. We're going to introduce you now to a very special volunteer. She actually got the Key Volunteer of the Year, and we want you to meet Linda Gordy, and she kind of exemplifies the type of people that give their time and give their hearts to the Key Training Center. So watch this and meet Linda Gordy.